For decades, the house at the end of Fern Street has stood desolate, its windows blank and lifeless. No one dared to approach it, for tales of ghostly sightings and strange occurrences were all too common. The townspeople spoke in hushed whispers about the house's original occupants, the Harper family who had all died under mysterious circumstances, their bodies found lifeless in their beds one morning. One summer, a young journalist, Tom, decided to debunk these urban legends. Armed with his skepticism and his camera, he entered the house one evening. The house, draped in layers of dust and cobwebs, echoed with silence, an eerie stillness that sent chills down Tom's spine. Yet he ventured further. As he ascended the creaky staircase, he could hear distant whispers and a child's soft laughter. Tom turned around, scanning the dimly lit hallway, his heart beating rapidly. He found himself standing before a door, its paint chipped and faded. As he pushed it open, he was greeted by a chilling gust of wind. The room, once a child's bedroom, was filled with antique toys and a small bed. He noticed a portrait of a little girl hanging on the wall, her eyes seeming to follow him around the room. He was drawn to her eyes, they were hauntingly sad. As he gazed at the portrait, his camera slipped from his hand. He bent over to pick it up, and when he straightened, he gasped. The room had changed. The wallpaper was bright, the toys scattered around as if recently played with, and he could hear a music box playing a somber tune. Suddenly, he felt a touch on his shoulder. He turned around, coming face to face with the little girl from the portrait. Her pale face was as cold as ice, her eyes filled with an eternity of sadness. She stretched her hand towards Tom, and he backed away, his heart pounding. He turned to flee, but the door slammed shut, trapping him inside. Tom woke up the next morning on the front porch of the house, the memories of the previous night a blur. Trembling, he looked at his camera and found a single taken photo. It was him and the little girl from the portrait, her hand reaching out to him. From that day forward, Tom was never the same again. The townsfolk whispered about how he had aged overnight, his hair turning white. He was often seen talking to himself, repeating the same phrase over and over: "The house at the end of Fern Street is alive." He died a few years later, his body discovered in the same house, his face frozen in a silent scream. The house at the end of Fern Street remains, its dark secrets untouched, waiting for the next curious visitor.